Welcome to the Fundraising Leadership Podcast, where we engage in lively and thoughtful conversations about personal development in the nonprofit world. I'm Janice Cunning, and I'm here with my partner, Michele Malloy Dillon. And we're super excited today to welcome author Gretchen Rubin, who is one of the most influential and thought-provoking observers of happiness and human nature. She's a New York Times bestselling author and co-hosts Happier with Gretchen Rubin with her sister Elizabeth Kraft, which I am a huge fan and I listen every week to the podcast. And she joins us today to talk about her latest book, Life in Five Senses, How Exploring the Senses Got Me Out of My Head and Into the World. Welcome, Gretchen.
I'm so happy to be talking to you. Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you with us. So in your book, you talk about this sort of aha moment where you have this routine trip to an eye doctor and it launched this path to explore the senses. Can you tell us a bit about that experience?
Yeah, I had a bad case of pink eye, so I went to the eye doctor. And as I was getting ready to leave, he said to me very casually, like, be sure to wear sunscreen. He said, be sure to come back for your regular checkup because, as you know, you're more at risk for losing your vision. And I said, no, I did not know that I'm more at risk for losing my vision. What are you talking about? And he said, oh, yeah, you're really nearsighted. So you're at a greater chance of having a detached retina, which could affect your vision. And so we would want to catch that right away. And I had a friend who had just lost some of his vision to a detached retina. So, that felt like a very real possibility to me. So I walked out onto the street and I live in New York City. So I was getting ready to walk home and I was looking all around me and just appreciating everything. And, so often, at least I find for me, it's hard to appreciate something until you lose it or you're afraid you're going to lose it. And I was looking all around and realizing all of this is so beautiful. It's so important to me. And yet I didn't notice anything about this on my way over. I didn't see one single thing as I was walking over. And of course, I knew that I could have a rich, meaningful life if I lost my vision or some of my senses. But still, I was just so overwhelmed with this possibility. And at that moment, it was like every knob in my brain jammed itself up to 11, and I could see every leaf on the trees. I could hear every sound on a separate track. I could smell every smell in smelly New York City, just flooding in, and it lasted my whole walk home. And I thought, this is happening all the time. All of this is happening all around me. I'm not paying any attention, and it's so beautiful. I don't want to take it for granted. And I realized that, I had known in my study of happiness that there was some missing piece. I could sense that there was something that I wasn't giving enough attention to. And that walk home, this kind of psychedelic, transcendent walk, showed me that was the missing puzzle piece. I needed to connect to the world through my five senses.
Yeah. Yeah. And, exactly. It's, that sort of it hits you. And, what I like, some people might know you for the Happiness Project. I mean, that's a book I think many people will have read and heard about. And what I think is great about your work is you're very pragmatic. Like you take a practical approach, right? Some people I think we, as coaches, people are like, I want to be more mindful. I want to be more present. And you talk a lot about that on the podcast too. Like, okay, so like most people can't do that because it's not actually clear. So how did you conceive of it was sort of like you really took it on as a five senses project. So how did you get to that place where you made it practical?
Well, you're exactly right. I have kind of a Ben Franklin attitude where I'm sort of like, yes, I get all these transcendent ideas and that's really important. But then how would we put it to use in our ordinary lives tomorrow without spending a lot of time, energy, or money? Okay, so what would you do? I think a lot of times it's not a persuasion problem, it's an execution problem. We get what we're supposed to do. It's just so what would I actually do? So the first thing I did with the five senses is, the more you know, the more you notice. And I thought, okay, I don't even really understand that much about my five senses. First of all, I had to decide which senses, because, scientists will say we have 33 senses, we have 35 senses. So to figure, okay, well, what senses? So I had to do that research. Then I figured, no, and I'm going to stick to what you could call the kindergarten senses, or you could call them the Aristotelian senses, depending on the big five. And then just trying to learn more. This was just, really reading books. For me, I always start with just kind of going to the library. And then as I was studying, then I started to think of things that I wanted to try, or I would come across experiments that I wanted to try, or I would think of classes that I wanted to take. And so as I started to know more, I began to become more curious and start to see the kind of things that I could try. And I was always on the lookout for something that I could try. I remember reading about, you can make a non-Newtonian fluid out of cornstarch. And I was like, that's exactly the kind of thing I could try. I got cornstarch just like everybody, and I love cornstarch. So do that. And so a lot of it was just being on the lookout for suggestions. And then the deeper I got into it, the more I started to think of things that I wanted to try, kind of my own original exercises and experiments. But that was part of what was really creative and fun about it, which was how would I do it? And then it also gave me an excuse to do a lot of things that I really wanted to do. Like, I realized that neither of my daughters had ever made Jiffy Pop popcorn. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a billable hour. We must have Jiffy Pop popcorn immediately. And they, of course, their minds were blown, because what is cooler than Jiffy Pop popcorn? And, and so a lot, and my approach for this was like, keep it fun, keep it playful, keep it like, let's have fun with the five senses. Let's not sit down and drink one sip of coffee for 30 minutes. Some people like that. Sure, there's a lot of value to it. That wasn't my approach. I really wanted to have just a more playful way to connect with the five senses.
Yeah, you're so curious and exploratory about your world, and it just, the way you speak about it just makes the life feel so full.
Yeah.
And so like every sensation, every moment is a chance to explore the depth and the exploration of what it feels like to be alive.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that was your response, because I really wanted to capture that in the book, and this kind of the sense that it's all happening all around us if we just sort of wake up to it. We can tap into this sort of source of vitality and energy and just appreciation for the beauty of the world. And we don't have to buy anything or make an appointment or discipline our minds. It's right there. So I'm glad that was kind of the vibe you got from the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you and your sister talk a lot about the podcast about being whimsical, right? Like like there's a lot of great stuff about, meditation and mindfulness. And, we do a lot of that work, but there is something I think, especially right now in this moment in the world where it's like, we need to have some whimsy and fun.
No, exactly. And it's like, like with a team of people where you're trying to get to know each other, maybe you can talk about things like, what was your favorite junk food as a kid that your parents would never buy you? Or like, what's the hometown food that you can only get right in your hometown and no place else in the world really makes it right? Or what do you remember about your grandparents' kitchen? Because these are like, there's kind of an excitement to sensory memories and experiences. It's a way to be revealing without being intimate in a way that might make people feel uncomfortable. It gives you a sense of someone. But again, it's playful, it's fun. It kind of helps draw people together, because one thing we really share is our five senses and the experience of our five senses. And so, because I think we all want to join together, but we want to do it in a way that is like very respectful.
Yeah. I love that, because we sometimes when we facilitate with teams, we'll say, tell us about one thing you like to do, like an activity when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And it makes people laugh, because often it tracks. Like, it's sort of like the kid who I was like, I lined all my teddy bears up and was the teacher at the front of the room, and people could see. That stuff comes out of me.
No, well, and it's funny because one of the so a big theme in my work and on the Happier podcast is know yourself better, because it's hard to know ourselves. And a really interesting question to ask people is, what did you do for fun when you were 10 years old? Exactly your question. And it's very interesting when there is this, like, I remember somebody who said that she used to sit in front of a mirror and talk to a wooden spoon, and now she's a TV anchor. And somebody I know said she played with her dollhouse. She had 3 dollhouses that her father made for her, and she's like, she played with them well past the season of respectability, social respectability, and that she's an interior decorator.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times there are these, you can see the roots of it, and it is fun. So I think that there's a lot of ways we can draw closer through memories and specifically through sensory memories.
And I think bringing in like a food, like that feels like it takes that question and even amps it up, because people are having this visceral experience, of like remembering how that smelled and what it tasted like and what it felt like to be in the place, like where they ate that food. And so, that is, we're going to add that to our repertoire, Michele.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun too, because people have like different responses. Like I remember I was with a bunch of friends and we started talking about cherry mash, which is like, that's the kind of cane I'm like, have I even had cherry mash? Like, that's so old fashioned, but I can exactly see it. And everybody had their own take on cherry mash. It's like, who knew we had so many opinions? But like, it didn't matter, but it was fun to kind of argue about it and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this discussion about our five senses is it can bring us back into nostalgia, which can be so wonderful to explore. And it can also bring us fully into the present now. Yes. And a lot of times when we're working with clients who are under a lot of stress, it's like, well, what's here now?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And that's what's interesting about the senses is it will point in any direction. This was one of the things that really surprised me as I was getting into it. Because I mean, obviously when I started this, my hypothesis was that connecting with my five senses would make me happier. But what surprised me is that like with just about any aim that you have, even contradictory aims, you could deploy the five senses. So like you say, it can help you connect with the past. Yes. But it can also help you connect to the present. Yes, even though those two things are different, it can help you calm down, but it can also help you pump up. It can help you connect with other people, but it can also take you deeper into yourself. It can help you like be productive and focused, but it also can help you daydream and spark creativity. And so it's sort of like this super flexible tool, but one that all of us have all around us. And I think when you say to people, okay, well, you feel like you're feeling stuck. Like you need to like come up with some ideas. You need to generate your creativity. How would you do that? If I say to you, is there a way you could tap into your five? Like you might be like, I have no idea. How am I supposed to spark my creativity? I'm supposed to have creative thoughts about how to spark creativity. I don't. But then if I said, is there a way you could do that through your five senses? Well, all of a sudden the concreteness of that starts to make you think like, yeah, maybe I could. Like maybe I could get out a big pad of paper and some colored markers and some stickers and like map it out. Or, maybe I should go for a walk in the park and like, that's going to like free my mind. Like there's something about the specificity that then kind of unlocks ideas. Sometimes, you need to embrace a constraint. And I think having to think about something through the five senses often helps people to generate ideas that they don't know they're capable of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love like one of the things that I think is really for our clients that we see is stress, workplace stress, especially, coming the last few years. A lot of people are, I know here in Canada, a lot of people are still working at home. They're juggling their family. So like for you personally, and then also stories you've heard, like what have you heard and learned yourself about like how can tapping into our five senses help us at work when we're really feeling that crunch?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a huge issue. One of the things that really interested me about doing this was often I would understand something that I did in my own life that I had no explanation for. We have all these like habits and tics and patterns that you just never think about it, and then you're thinking, why do I do that? Or like, why, who knows? And one of the things that I had noticed about myself, or I realized after I started researching five senses, is that when I'm stressed out, I'll often hold a pen, like in a situation where I don't need a pen. And yet I would hold a pen. And I realized that is a way that, and then talking to many people, I found that is a way that many people will calm themselves in a stressful situation. And it sort of doesn't matter what it is. So you can pick something that just feels appropriate. Like for me, holding a pen, it's inconspicuous and it's also kind of like a talisman of my identity. It's a pen. But I talked to who was a nonprofit organizer who said she always held a clipboard, and that even if she didn't need a clipboard, she just felt like hanging onto it gave her something to do with her hands. And it was a signal like, I'm prepared, I'm at the ready, like I'm on duty. And that helped her feel grounded in her body. I've talked to people who will hold like a mug of hot coffee or hot tea, or like a water bottle of like ice cold water. Sometimes people like different things like that, or even like a rock. I remember a teacher was saying that when she got really stressed out having to deal with all the tech challenges with just the beginning of COVID, that she found that if she held a polished stone and just passed it from one hand to another, that helped her like stay calm. So that was just sort of a funny little example of how we could use our sense of touch. Because I think people are familiar with things like weighted blankets, therapy dough, fidget toys, pop toys, and those are great. People love those, especially like maybe if you're on a virtual call and you're feeling restless, like kind of out of sight. Like I have a fidget spinner right with me. If I needed to, I could just do it. You wouldn't know. And yet it kind of gives me something to do. So that's tapping into the sense of touch. Another thing is to think about, are there things in your environment that are distracting you or draining you that maybe you haven't consciously realized? So maybe if you're working from an open office plan, are you very distracted by the people coming and going, by the kind of visual clutter or the clatter? There's clutter and clatter. Mm-hmm. So do you need to do things like turn off your notifications, ask other people to turn off their notifications? I begged my husband to turn off his notification sounds. He had like 3 different kinds. I'm like, how can you live like this? I mean, I'm just in the kitchen, like fixing myself like a cup of coffee, and my stress level is through the roof. You're not a brain surgeon. And then if you work from home, then there's can be a different set of distractions and things that are draining and annoying. And one thing I will say too, about working from home is I think for many people, it's kind of a makeshift situation. Mm. And I think that for a lot of us, we need to think like, this is now permanent. And so I don't want to be sitting on a really uncomfortable dining room chair for 8 hours a day. Yeah. And I don't want to be in the dining room. I need to find a place where I can have a little bit more privacy, and I don't have to depend on other people, like not to tiptoe through my background or, to remember not to let the dogs out or whatever. It's time to think about, okay, how do I have a friend who didn't have a printer for 18 months. And I was like, well, what did you do when you had to print something out? She goes, oh, there's like a store down the street.
Yeah.
I'm like, get a printer. You work from home full time. You have no physical office. What are you doing? And she's like, well, it's like makeshift. Like if it's makeshift, but it's actually permanent, like do the things so you're comfortable in your body and you're not constantly being drained and distracted.
It's so
there's
funny.
So much energy we spend blocking things. Yes, like if we're not aware.
That is it.
Of our senses. I did it this morning. I was having breakfast on the outside patio and I was like, why am I kind of stressed out? What's going on? I just put everything down and I just sat there and listened. And I realized there was this construction hum, like way in the background, far away, like a particular pitch. And I thought, God, I hear birds. I hear lots of wonderful things, but that's in the background really annoying me. Do I want to stay here or do I want to go back inside? Then I could be in choice about what I wanted to do.
Right.
Yes. Oh, it's so fun. I was just, as Gretchen, you were saying that, I was thinking like literally the other day, my husband has a minivan. And so he went with our neighbor to get her office chair. She's like, I've been sitting like at my dining room chair for 3 years.
I mean, yeah, and it makes a big difference. I mean, again, it's like, it's what is that comfort level to you? What is the experience of your body?
Yeah.
Well, another really interesting thing for people to think about is what is their neglected sense. So I have a quiz that you can take online, just GretchenRubin.com/quiz. And it's very short and it's free. It's really fun to take.
And Michele and I have done it. Do you want to know ours?
Okay, wait, I'll explain what a neglected sense is, and then I'm dying to know what you're saying. Okay. So for people, so we all have appreciated senses and neglected senses. So an appreciated sense, it's like, you enjoy it. You like to learn about it. You like to have adventures and explore it. You'll talk about it with your friends. You'll reminisce. You turn to it for comfort and pleasure and adventure. With the neglected sense, like you don't talk about it. You don't tend to learn about it. You're not interested in reflecting on it or reminiscing about it. You may be more concerned with avoiding the negative aspects of that sense than pursuing the positive. And it's really helpful to know your neglected sense, because this is where you have low-hanging fruit. You're probably already doing a lot with your appreciated sense, and that's great. But the neglected sense sort of opens up all these new possibilities because it's something that you're not already drawing upon. So it's a great place for new adventures and new sources of comfort and new sources of pleasure. Okay, so neglected sense. Janice, what is your neglected sense?
Mine is smell.
Interesting.
Not shocking to me. I mean,
No, it wasn't.
I don't wear perfume. Like if somebody gifts me a scented candle, I never use it. So I will say I do like body lotion and soaps. Like I like citrus. Like there were certain smells that I knew that I liked. So I've been paying attention because that's your quiz is like, how do I look for opportunities? So I was visiting my sister last week, and I was saying to Michele before, like, there were these beautiful, I don't know much about trees, but there were these beautiful flowering trees where I used to live, and I miss them. They're not in my new neighborhood, but I smelled them when I was in Vancouver. And I was like, oh, this is the tree that I used to smell. And then right now I have a new body lotion, and it's cherry and almond. And I love marzipan. Like marzipan reminds me of being a child because my parents used to get it. They're from Britain. And also a very beloved neighbor, he loved marzipan. So my parents used to bring marzipan for him when they went home. So that reminds me of marzipan. I'm trying to pause in the morning when I do my body lotion and like remember, like have that memory, of my childhood.
Oh, that's so wonderful, because sometimes like these pleasures can kind of fade into the background, like the flowering trees, you're sort of dimly aware of it, or you can really bring it into the forefront and really enjoy it and make the connection with your past and really just, revel in it. Yes. And how about you, Michele? What's your neglected sense?
My neglected sense is taste.
Me
which
too.
At first I was like, wait a minute, my husband is a cook. He loves to cook for me and he makes the most amazing dishes. And as I was thinking about it, I thought, I rely on him because when we're out in a restaurant, I'll say, what should I order? Yeah. And he always picks the right thing. And if I say, no, I'm really in the mood for this, I usually regret it. So I'm wondering if I'm relying on him for almost 30 years, right?
Well, this is a great question. I took a note of that, Michele, because my neglected sense is also taste. And my sister, who's the co-host of Happier, hers is also taste, which is interesting that the two sisters have the same neglected one. But I will often say to my husband, do I like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or do I like this or do I like that? And he'll tell me. And I wonder if that is almost a tell, because I would love to have more questions that like with the 4 tendencies quiz, which I know both of you know about the 4 tendencies. With the 4 tendencies, there's certain things that people say where I'm like, bing, 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 bing. Ooh, that's a flashing sign that you're a questioner. That's a flashing sign that you're a obliger. I would love to have some like quick questions where I'm like, is this just kind of like a shortcut? And I wonder if saying, do you often ask people, what should I order? What do I like? Maybe that's a sign that it's either your most neglected or one of your most neglected, because I bet. So Janice, it's not your neglected sense.
No, but what's so interesting? My sister, sometimes we were laughing. I was with her last week and we were laughing because we would be at a restaurant we'd been at a bunch of times, and she would think I'm going to order something. And I'm like, but you don't like that. Like you've had that here and you didn't like it. And she's like, really? And I'm like, no, I remember it and not liking it.
Oh, I wonder if oh my gosh, I'd be so fascinated to know if it's her neglect. Maybe we've stumbled on like a secret tell.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so interesting. But so here, Michele, this is interesting for us as the taste people, is that of the neglected senses, they're very evenly distributed, which surprised me. I thought almost nobody would have sight as a neglected sense because we're hardwired for sight and it takes up the most real estate in the brain, and sight trumps other senses if there's a conflict. So I didn't think anybody would have that result, but it's about even. They're all about the same, but taste is the most it's the most appreciated sense.
Oh, really?
And after that,
fascinating.
Hearing.
Yeah. Wow. More to come on the study.
So Michele,
of the senses.
You need to do the ketchup taste that Gretchen does in the book.
Oh yeah, I haven't done the ketchup taste because that was a fascinating study that you did about ketchup in the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, love a Heinz ketchup.
Yeah.
Spoonful. Yeah. It's magic.
Read the book to find out what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, my sister was I really struggled to come up with the title of the book. And one of the things I thought about is why ketchup is magic. And because I talked about it so much while I was working on the book, and my sister really wanted me to do that. She gave me like a ketchup T-shirt. She loved that title, but other people did not like it. It was a high positive, high negative. So I decided to maybe people think it's a cookbook.
Yes. Yeah. It's I can see it had the whimsy, but maybe it wasn't as clear as Life in Five Senses. So
yes, a little on the nose, more on the nose with that one.
Yeah. So I maybe I would love to bring in the four tendencies just quickly, because I think it also, like, I sort of started this conversation by saying one of the things I love about you is you turn things into like a project. And I was telling you just before we hit record, like, I make all my clients, do your quiz of the four tendencies, which I'll let you explain. But I think that will also inform how people will approach their own five senses. So if you could explain what that is, how people can take it, and then how that would relate to this, that'd be great.
Yeah. No, I'll explain the four tendencies, and then Janice, I want to hear from you if you notice that your clients tend to be in one or the other. So let's remember to come back to that. Okay, so the four tendencies is a personality framework that I came up with when I was working on my book Better Than Before, which was all about how to make and break habits, because I was trying to figure out patterns that I saw in how people were able to make and break habits, because I was just picking up these patterns and I couldn't figure out how to explain it. And then I figured out this framework. So and I will briefly describe this, and most people know what they are right away. Like, they don't even need to take the quiz. It's very obvious what they are. You can do the Game of Thrones characters. We can do these are movie characters. They're very obvious, but there is a quiz, GretchenRubin.com/quiz. You can take the quiz for free. Like 3.2 million people have taken the quiz now. And it will tell you what you are and give you a little report on how to use it. But as I say, you don't even really need to take the quiz. So what it looks at is a very narrow aspect of your personality, but one that's very significant. So as you say, Janice, you're finding it useful with your clients. It's how you respond to expectations. So all of us face two kinds of expectations: outer expectations, like a work deadline, and inner expectations, like my own desire to keep a New Year's resolution, my expectation for myself. So depending on whether you meet or resist an outer or inner expectation, you're either an upholder, a questioner, an obliger, or a rebel. So upholders readily meet outer and inner expectations. They meet the work deadline. They keep the New Year's resolution without much fuss. They want to know what other. That's you, and that's me too. You and me both. And we're a very small group, Janice. Okay, Michele, I want to know what you are. Hang on. And so, it's what they want to know what other people expect from them, but their expectations for themselves are just as important. So their motto is "Discipline is my freedom." Then there are questioners. Questioners question all expectations. They'll do something if they think it makes sense. They resist anything arbitrary, unjustified. They need reasons. So they're making everything an inner expectation. If it meets their inner standard, if they think it makes sense, it's customized, it's the most efficient way, they'll do it no problem. If it fails their inner standard, they will push back. So their motto is, if you convince me why, then I will comply.
And shout out to our partner, David. He's a questioner.
Okay, he's a questioner. Okay, good. We're getting bring them all in. Then there are obligers. Obligers readily. Okay, Michelle's hand is up. Okay. Well, and this is the biggest tendency for both men and women. This is the biggest tendency. You either are an obliger or you have many obligers in your life. Obligers readily meet outer expectations, but they struggle to meet inner expectations. So these are people who say things like, why do I keep my promises to everybody else, but I can't keep my promises to myself? Why can't I take time for self-care? Why can't I keep my priorities for myself? This is because obligers can meet outer expectations, but to meet an inner expectation, they must have a form of outer accountability.
This is why I keep Janice and David in my life.
There you go. And that's why that is so wise, because you can meet an inner expectation as long as there's outer accountability. Like you read a book, you want to read more, you join a book group, you want to exercise more, you work out with a friend who's annoyed if you don't show up, or you work out with a trainer who'll charge you anyway, you raise money for a charity, you think of your duty to be a role model for someone else. There's a lot of ways to create outer accountability once we realize that's what we need. It's not a matter of like inner motivation, it's a matter of outer accountability. But obligers are the most likely to come through when someone needs a hand. So they are the rock of the world. They're the biggest tendency. So their motto is, you can count on me, and I'm counting on you to count on me. Now, if obliger is the biggest tendency, the smallest tendency is rebel. Rebels resist outer and inner expectations alike. They want to do what they want to do in their own way, in their own time. They can do anything they want to do. They can do anything they choose to do. But if you ask or tell them to do something, they're very likely to resist. And typically they don't tell themselves what to do. Like, they don't sign up for a 10 a.m. spin class on Saturdays because they think, I don't know what I'm going to feel like doing on Saturday. And just the idea that somebody's expecting me to show up is going to bug me. So their motto is, you can't make me, and neither can I. So those are the four. So this is interesting. So we have two upholders and an obliger. Okay. And Janice, with the people that your clients, often obligers are often drawn to coaching because they know that's what they need. Do you find that?
Yeah, we do. And it's sort of, we
Michele,
also,
you're nodding too.
we through Shirzad Shamin, the author of Positive Intelligence, we've been trained under him, and he has saboteurs. Also, what are our most common saboteurs? And one of them is pleaser, like where you're really sacrificing your own self, right? And that we see it a lot in the nonprofit world. That's a very common saboteur. And I think also obligers, like, it's a very it can become a problem where people are self-sacrificing. Like, you believe so much in a cause that you're over giving, right? So I find it so helpful because it lets me know as a coach, like, how much accountability, like, some people, I do have some clients who are like, no, I'm going to do that. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Like, I know the member, I know they're going to do something, or they're going to choose not to because circumstances change, but I don't need to. And then I have other ones where it's like, do I need to email you on Friday and remind you? And that, and many clients say to me, Michele, you're probably the same. Like, they're like, I did the thing this morning because I knew I had to talk to you at noon and I was going to disappoint you.
But here's the thing that I find is, first, that a lot of obligers really feel like they should not need outer accountability. Like, they almost feel like they should learn to grow out of it, or that it's like training wheels that they need to get rid of. And I'm like, this is the biggest group of people. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with this approach of having outer accountability. If this is what you need to have the life you want, fine. This is not a problem. There's nothing that needs to be. You just need to figure out, well, how do I get the kind of accountability that's going to let me achieve my aims for myself, rather than saying, well, I don't understand, if these upholders don't need it, these questioners don't need it, these rebels don't need it, I shouldn't need it either. Who's to say? There's nothing wrong with you.
That's right.
Just get yourself what you need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And we work a lot with clients around that, creating an accountability structure and a team so that they can create a sense of structure to be accountable for things with deadlines and how they want to be accountable in a non-judgmental way, like to create this different support system.
But here's two things I would say about obligers, like specifically for your listeners. First of all, obligers also need outer accountability for fun and for taking time off. Like, they might be like, well, why do I love to have tennis lessons? Or, of course it's fun to go on vacation. I don't need that accountability for that. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. And a wise boss or manager says to an obliger, hey, I'm looking at your record and I see you haven't taken a break in 18 months. I don't want you to have obliger rebellion and burn out. I need you to come in by the end of the week and tell me, what is your plan for taking time off? What does that look like? Or say things like, you're setting a bad example for your team as a boss. If you stay late every night, how are they going to not think that that's the way they need to behave? If you never take a vacation, they're going to feel like they should never let themselves off the hook. Is that the kind of role model you want to be? So you have to have outer accountability even for that. And here's another thing. Sometimes obligers make the mistake of thinking, wow, I'm not meeting my expectations for myself. And it's because outer expectations are so heavy. I'm the head of this big organization. I've been giving it 110% for 10 years. I'm letting all these other things in my life slide. You know what? I need to just switch jobs, really take a step back so I have time for myself. And you know what I see over and over is that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Just the fact that outer expectations are lightening up, you have to have outer accountability for those inner expectations. The fact that outer expectations go away does not mean that now inner expectations will be met. And so people make decisions thinking that they will then get in shape, move, renovate their house, work on the novel in their free time, make time for friends. I'm like, no, you need outer accountability for those things.
Yeah.
Yes. I will say, Gretchen, because I'm always thinking about your work. I'll be like, I am writing you a permission slip. Here's your permission slip. You may have lunch today. You may go for a walk with your dog. I give you permission. And they're like,
but it's not even permission. It's like a demand more.
Yeah.
It's like you have, I'm giving you permission to do it, and I'm going to be annoyed if you don't.
Yes.
This is
I write it down. They know I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down, and I'm going to ask you when I see you next.
Yes. It's like doctor's orders.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes obligers are confused because they're trying to understand why they have this pattern in their behavior. And they often will kind of criticize themselves for it, or they will dress it up and have other explanations, where I think if you just sort of think about outer expectations and inner expectations and outer accountability, it's a lot. You could just put aside all of the whys and wherefores, which can become very distracting. And just think about, okay, well, how would I create outer accountability? Okay, and can I talk about obliging rebellion for a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is
because we see it in the nonprofit
I bet you
world.
do. I would love
Absolutely.
to see. I would love to hear examples of how you've seen it come up, because it's such a mysterious pattern if you don't understand it. But if you understand it, then all of a sudden behavior that doesn't seem to make sense makes perfect sense and is actually predictable. So obliger rebellion is when an obliger's in a situation where they're like, meet expectations. And then suddenly they snap and they say, this I will not do. And it can be small and kind of funny, like, I'm just going to sit in my car in the parking lot and be deliberately late for work. Or I'm not going to answer your emails for 2 weeks. It's like a small kind of rebellion. Or it can be huge, like, I'm quitting my job today. I'm walking out the door, or I'm ending a 20-year friendship. This is over. I'm getting a divorce. And it looks like sudden kind of disproportionate response. But what it actually is it happens as a protective measure when obligers are feeling when expectations are just unbearably high, where they feel ignored, exploited, taken advantage of, unheard, and they put up with it. And then it's like the balloon bursts, the volcano explodes. And it's meant to protect them because it's supposed to blow up a situation that's just unsustainable. And sometimes it is protective, but sometimes it has real reputational risk because the other people around you don't understand it. And they say things like, well, I asked you if you wanted to be on this committee, and you said you were happy to be on this committee. So now I don't understand why you're so angry at me. Or like, if you felt like we were working you too hard, why didn't you say something? Why are you just up and quitting? Like, where is this coming from? I don't understand it. But if you know about obliger rebellion, you can see it coming. You can feel the building anger, the building resentment. Obligers start to say things like, I'm acting out of character. I've never done this. This is so unlike me. People are starting to say, what's up? And it's like, yeah, because it's building. And so if you can figure out that it's coming, you can intervene so you don't have that explosion. Because by the way, obligers are often the most valuable employees. They're super great family members and friends and neighbors and colleagues because they go the extra mile. So you don't want to risk, burning out like one of your top obligers because you let them get into a situation where they're on 9 committees and everybody else is on 2 committees, or they're doing all the unpleasant work travel because everybody else is kind of like looking at the ground and shuffling their papers when it's time to raise your hand. You got to we've all got to make it fair and keep things fair and make sure that the obligers aren't taking on too much just because they're really good at shouldering those outer expectations. So how do you see this pattern in your own experiences? Because I'm fascinated by obliger rebellion.
The impact of an obliger, going over the edge like that and doing something drastic is that other folks don't understand where it's coming from.
Yes.
It creates this sense of distrust.
Yes.
Like, wait a minute, I thought I totally could count on you, or I knew who you were. And this emotion or this action feels like it's coming out of nowhere.
Yes.
And so for leaders who are obligers, and many of them are in the nonprofit world, to allow themselves to get over that edge can have actually pretty drastic consequences for the trust of an organization.
Well, and you know where I think it's showing up. Like I can personally think of so many people that I know in the nonprofit sector who suddenly left their jobs. They don't have a new job. They're just like, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
And
that's very obliger rebellion.
Yeah.
I
was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I would be at some networking thing and I'm like, oh, you're doing that and you're doing I think it's showing up a lot in that way. It's just like, it's too much. I mean, it's been, if you think about raising money during the pandemic and all of the uncertainty, and then especially like, if you work in healthcare, the pressure, if you work in social services, I mean, food banks, housing, like everything it just became intolerable for a lot of people. And, and I've had people come to me for coaching who are like looking for the next thing, but they're like, yeah, I just left. Like, and I was like, 5 years ago, I would have been shocked to know anybody. And suddenly I know, like, I could name like on my, I could count on my fingers, like how many people have told me that they've done that recently.
Well, other than just up and quitting, what are other this kind of over the edge? I love that metaphor of going over, because that's very much how it feels. It's like, it's not a controlled pushing back. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of spiraling out of control leap. Mm-hmm. What are other ways that you see people, other than just quitting? Have you seen other behaviors that you would say are examples of obliger rebellion?
I think, I would say with you, Michele, sometimes we say to Michele, like, you need to pull back, because I think you get what we call stickler saboteur. Michele gets like very stressed about the smallest, like we're crafting an email and I'm like, Michele, what's going on with you? Yeah. So I think that's a tell for you.
Interesting.
Like, you're trying to control because you're feeling out of control,
Yeah.
Interesting. So sort of like
overcompensating, over managing.
Micromanaging.
I have a really good friend who calls it my knife personality, because she's like, suddenly you brought out this metaphorical knife and I don't know what's going on. It's like, it's like the horror movie.
So it's almost like a tone thing where all of a sudden there's this sudden shift in tone and people are like, whoa, this is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type situation.
Yeah. Like
I have Michele clients.
Like you like to do things well, but I can feel when Michele crosses an edge where it's suddenly like, she's just like over, like, is it okay that we said that? Is it okay? And I'm like, oh, this is not that high stakes. And then I'm like, oh, that to me is a big tell for you. It's
but see, that's an example of how we all need to be mindful of this, because you can't just kind of hand wave it and say, well, obligers deal with it. It's like, this affects a whole organization. It affects a team. And I really think it's for all of us to be watching out for each other, just as you are, where you're like, okay, I'm feeling the warning signs. Something's changing. I need to say, hey, I'm watching for you to step back. I need you. I'm creating an outer expectation that you're going to like take some time to chill out.
Yeah.
And that's better for you. It's better for both of you. It's better for everybody. It's like, and that's fine. But I do feel like a lot of us need to look around, make sure that things are fair. Obligers sometimes aren't good at doing that for themselves, but they're really good about doing it for other people. Yep. Like a lot of people said, like, I'll march into my boss's office and say, like, do you know what they're doing to so-and-so? Like, that's not right.
That was me. I used to be that person when I worked.
That's good. That's good. I mean, because I do think that you don't want to get into a situation where just because someone really is willing to step up, that they get stomped on.
Well, I will say, I mean, I think I do it, Michele. You tell me if I'm right, but we co-lead, co-create everything. And I'll sometimes be like, no, I am taking that.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot do that. I am taking it. And then you're like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, another thing, it's kind of along the same line, something that sometimes works for obligers, like in their own minds, is like saying, if I don't do this, I'm giving somebody else a chance. So it's like Michele could be like, well, this would be good for Janice to have this experience or whatever. Maybe not in the case of the email, but like if you're like, I remember an academic was saying he felt this pressure because he so believed in what he wrote about that he wanted to like spread the word of the world, which is a very kind of academic idea that like, oh, the world is just so needing your ideas, but whatever. And so he felt enormous pressure to always say yes when he was asked to present, which was quite often because he was very like well known. But then it occurred to him, well, this doesn't do anything for my career because I'm so well established. But for somebody starting out who's in my field, this could be like a huge opportunity for them. And so I'm going to say no so that someone else has an opportunity to step forward and to have that experience. And I was like, again, with an obliger, it's like, it's not like, hey, you need to give yourself a break. You need it, because then he would have been like, no, I don't. I need to put this idea into the world. But if it's like, no, you're hogging the limelight, give somebody else a chance to shine. He was like, oh, I get that. I do. That is an outer expectation of kind of like this unknown other person. But of course, somebody else is going to step up and give that presentation. So it was really true.
Yeah. And tying back into your work of the five senses, what I've learned about myself as an obliger, and this comes from self-exploration, which we always encourage our clients to do in coaching, it's when I realize my stress levels are ratcheting up and I don't know why, and I'm feeling that, I actually clue into my senses. It helps me ground myself in the moment in order to make the right decision and sort of bring my brain back online.
It's such a great example of how these things all fit together.
They really do.
It's like, but you kind of have to notice that you're getting overwhelmed or drained or, overtaxed. And then you can say, all right, okay, given what I know, like what's going on, there is that machinery in the background that's stressing me out. We have to kind of constantly, it's very easy just to ignore what's happening in our own bodies and our own minds. You think, how could I ignore it? And yet, I mean, it's really easy to become disconnected and not notice.
My tell is that I start wanting to get rid of things. I like to declutter.
I have that too.
So if I'm like suddenly like, do I need this shirt? I'm like, oh, what is okay. Take it.
No, medicinal clutter clearing, 100%. Or I'll start thinking about more efficient ways to store things. I just did that this morning. I'm like, I have all these handmade books that my daughter's made, but they don't need to be out on that shelf. That's a really high value bookshelf. I'll use that for this collection of aphorisms that I have. And I'll put this thing here and move this here and get rid of all these things. That is so funny.
Another shout out for your book, Outer Order Intercom.
Yes.
Gretchen's another great book that Gretchen wrote that I enjoyed. Although
we have talked. So go ahead, Janice. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, maybe I could have written that book myself because I love decluttering.
Well, yeah, you got to email me later with all your tips. It's so funny.
My sister sometimes lets me declutter with her. And I get like, how you are with your sister? So
yes.
There's actually you've done several podcast episodes, I think, where Liz has let you declutter. Yeah, one time I went over and my sister was like, I want your help decluttering. And I was like, is it my birthday and Christmas? All the world is doing.
I know. It's so funny. I beg my friends. I'm like, please let me do it. Because it's like, if it's not even your stuff, it's like no emotion too. It's like all of the upside and all of like the energizing, but without the kind of decision making and like emotional fatigue when it's your own stuff.
Exactly. No. Anyway, we need to wrap up soon because we could just talk about all this all day. But Gretchen, we like, it's a coaching podcast. We like to give people something tangible, and we know you love tangible things. So what is something that you would like to offer our listeners, something they could try?
Yes. So if you're feeling drained and listless, or you're feeling restless, or you're feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, either go outside or go to sleep. Up to you which one is the most situationally appropriate, but almost always one of those will do the trick. And great things happen when we go outside, and great things happen when we get a little bit more sleep. And so whatever you feel, you need to address kind of something that's going on, do one of those two things: go outside or go to sleep.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Wonderful thing to try.
And we're going to link to your book, to your quizzes. So probably all my clients already have your book.
Excellent. Good.
If you've known me for more than 3 days, you've heard me talk about Gretchen Rubin.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's such a delight. I mean, it's just a joyous book. It's like just reading the book is going to make you feel better. And then you're going to be so inspired with so many ideas of how to tap into your own senses.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I feel like we could talk all day. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation so much.
Thanks, Gretchen. This podcast is brought to you by Fundraising Leadership. We provide unique coaching and training programs to grow nonprofit leaders. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are enjoying the show, you can help us continue to bring thoughtful content with a one-time contribution. This supports our production costs and keeps the show ad-free. Contribute today using the link in the show notes, and you'll receive one or more of our highly acclaimed online courses. Now, go put it into practice.